All right, howdy. I'm Kazi.
Hey, and I'm Judd.
We're Tank and Spank, and today I've got a little bit of a different kind of video for you guys. There's the big bear on the screen. Today's video is a little bit of a different take. A lot of people have been really down on Guardian Druid on the beta and Dragonflight, and I want to make the argument that Guardian Bear is not nearly as bad as you think it is. So kind of getting into that a little bit. I started making this video to explain why Guardian Druid sucks on the beta. So I started playing a little bit more and kind of, I gotta say, it's starting to grow on me a little bit. I'm starting to come around. Plus, today I learned about an interaction on the beta that I didn't know previously existed for Guardian Druids with Moonfire that I think makes a really big deal in the class. And I think that when we talk about that here in a little bit, you guys will see why. So don't get me wrong, there are absolutely things to complain about in the class and spec trees, and there are things about Guardian Bear or Guardian Druid that are super clunky, but I want to at least take a little bit of a deeper dive and talk about the good things that bears have coming in Dragonflight. Bear with me. If you still think I'm an idiot by the end of this video, you're welcome to express that opinion down in the comments, but at least hear me out. So, in order to talk about why I don't think Guardian is in that bad of a spot, I want to go into a little bit of a bear history lesson of where bear's been in the last couple expansions. If you want to skip ahead to there are timestamps down in the comments. You can skip right to the Copium of why I think Guardian Druids are going to be all right, and we'll go from there. But I'll give a little bit of a history lesson on Guardian. And Judd here played Guardian back in MOP, but hasn't played much since. So later on in the video, we'll talk a little bit about some of the downsides of the spec, and we'll have him go through the class tree and try to figure out a good way to go through the class tree, and you'll kind of understand some of the downsides.
Yeah, I didn't struggle at all with that.
Yeah, not at all. All right, so I could talk for hours about what Guardian Druid's role in the meta has been for the last several expansions, but in the interest of not making a 2-hour video, I'm going to give the Cliff Notes version. So Blizzard wants Guardian Druid to be the beginner tank. They want... If you're picking up Guardian Druid, they want you to be focusing on the mechanics of tanking and how to do mob control and stuff like that, as opposed to the mechanics of your spec. So the basic offensive rotation is very straightforward. You don't have to make a lot of choices on the fly about how you're spending your resources. And the way your defenses work is very clear and concise. And for most of the last 5 years or so, if you picked up a Guardian Druid and you brought it into any kind of content, it would be okay. It wouldn't be the best. It wouldn't be the highest damage. It wouldn't be the worst, but it would be okay. Sorry, the video's cutting in and out, but it would be okay. And for instance, in Shadowlands, you could bring them to Mythic Raid and survive. You could bring them to +20s and be fine. However, because they lack some of the complexity of the other specs, they have often lacked the tools to push top of the line content. Early Mythic Raid and high-end Mythic Plus. There just wasn't enough skill expression in the class to allow really skilled players to bridge the gap and make that content doable. So, specifically in Shadowlands, before the 2-piece set bonus of the current tier set for Druids, they completely struggled with Snap Threat. They simply didn't do enough damage outside of Incarn to hold aggro. Additionally, while they were basically unkillable bears during Incarn, they didn't have the tools to survive pulls outside of Incarn. And on high-end Mythic Plus, they would even get one-shot by some boss abilities. So that's kind of where Bear is and was in Dragonflight. Is and was in Shadowlands. And then we're kind of coming into Dragonflight. So I picked the best video of me on Guardian Druid dying to every mechanic in Oldemon, apparently.
That's good B-roll.
Yeah, that's prettle common Guardian.
That's before the tier set, though. Yeah. Now that they have the 2 and 4 piece, like
yeah, now they're unkillable, right?
Popping off.
Hey, we killed the boss. All right, we killed the boss. That's what matters. All right. So getting on into Dragonflight, we'll talk about some of the things the bears are getting access to, and we'll turn off this real bad B-roll of me dying constantly. Get that. All right. So we'll start with some of the things bears are getting access to in the class tree. I will be wearing my Copium goggles and only looking at the good parts of the class tree. So first, and by far the most important thing that we're adding, is Tiger Dash. Okay. Judd was giving me crap for including Tiger Dash, but there are situations where it's nice to have Tiger Dash. Something like Sylvanas, where you have those long stretches of running, moving on the platform while you're not tanking. having the higher speed burst on a shorter cooldown is kind of nice. More legitimately, over here on the right side of the class tree, you'll now have access to, if you want to bring it, Typhoon, as well as Ursul's Vortex. Previously, you never had the ability to bring both. You had to choose based on your affinity which one you were getting. Being able to have both is a nice quality of life change. Innervate is also on the class tree, which will probably be pretty useful early on in the expansion for lots of the raid encounters when healers are struggling more with mana. And then down below it is Nature's Vigil. So Nature's Vigil gives you a bit of off healing on single target based on the single target damage that you do. It isn't a massive amount of healing, but in heroic dungeons and kind of the basic mythic 0 dungeons, it's been about 17 to 20% of my overall healing. So that comes with the heavy caveat that we're talking about heroic dungeons mostly, 1 or 2 mythic 0s. So that's the best I can get out of the class tree. Moving on to the spec tree, though, I think that the most important thing to talk about with the spec tree that kind of comes at the start is that you're still able to gather pretty much all of your major power points from early on in Shadowlands. So think about, say, Season 1, Season 2 Guardian Druid. Okay, you still have an incredibly strong Incarn, and you still have the Ursol's Fury Remembered Legendary effect, which is down here, your Thrash and Maul grants an Absorb Shield for 75% of the damage dealt. That paired with the other aspects of Incarn is still huge. So you are losing Ravenous Fury, but on this node, Berserk Unchecked Aggression, you're gaining 15% flatline haste during Berserk. So that means that instead of having your your ramping haste, you have 15% haste the entire time. Not as good, but still enough to make it so that you're getting most of the power that you had in Thrash. You also still have your 20% chance to trigger an additional Thrash and increasing.
And Maul cost 20 energy instead of 40, or 20 rage instead of 40.
That's true. So
it's on the left one.
Yeah, we really care a lot about Maul.
Big damage.
Big damage.
Plus, using that rage helps you reduce the cooldown of your Incarn, I believe.
Well, possibly. We'll talk about that a little bit in a second. So,
am I railing you enough right here?
Yeah, right. So, big thing with this is that it's like zooming out away from the class tree and the spec tree and not looking at those and just thinking about the power of the class. You have already all of that same power stuff that made Bear fun to play in Season 1 and Season 2. You have that 3-minute, I'm going to pull everything in the dungeon and not die and do massive amounts of damage. That's still in there. So if that's the kind of playstyle that you enjoyed about Bears, you're still getting that, which is great. You're also getting access to Ursoc's Guidance. This is an interesting one. So every 20 rage you spend reduces the cooldown of Incarn, Guardian of Ursoc by 1 second. On paper, this sounds extremely exciting, and in practice, it feels a little bit like you're getting your own buff because it reduces that a little bit. Currently on heroic dungeons, I'm able to, on average, get Incarn down to about a 2-minute, 20-second cooldown. Judd was doing it on the target dummy earlier. He was getting down around 2 minutes and 10 seconds, but that doesn't include any time having to move between packs or anything like that where you're not spending rage to reduce that. At some point in this expansion, we're going to get to a haste break point where we can reliably get Incarn down to 2 minutes. And if you have a 2-minute Incarn and it lines up with all of your DPS cooldown or your DPS players' cooldowns, then Guardian stocks are going way up because suddenly you can pull huge every minute and line it up with your DPS cooldowns, and that's going to be a massive boon for them in Mythic Plus.
Every 2 minutes. I don't think you're going to get it down all the way to 1 minute.
Sorry, I don't know. If I said 1 minute, it's just because I am brain dead.
Yeah,
tonight.
2 minutes, maybe slightly under.
Yeah, so
but obviously it would be nice with Nature's Vigil to get it down to 1.5 minutes, but that may be unreasonable.
Yeah.
Maybe something else later in the expansion if they had tier pieces that maybe also reduce cooldown and you could kind of line things up that way. Blizzard has shown the propensity in the past to make up for some things that you're lacking in Season 1 by giving you bonuses or tier piece or things in the next seasons or later seasons in the expansion to help with that, cover up flaws in their design, you could say.
True. So just that in a nutshell, like Bear still slaps. Is still going to slap in Mythic Plus. it's going to potentially, by the end of this expansion, have really great synergy with 2-minute classes or even 1-minute classes for every other incarn. So like that in and of itself is pretty much already on par with what we're looking at and what we've come to expect from bears. All right, so all of this isn't even taking into account what I think is the biggest improvement in the Guardian Druid playstyle, and that comes in the form of Galactic Guardian and all the Moonfire buffs. So those buffs, if you look over here on the tree, Moonfire reduces damage dealt to you by 4%. Moonfire deals 20% increased damage and hits 2 targets, which is an awesome quality of life change. While in bear form, you deal 20% increased damage. You deal 30% increased arcane damage and are healed for 30% of all arcane damage. And then your damage over time occurs faster, including healing. You've also got in the class tree magical damage and healing increased by 6%. And then you have Galactic Guardian, which is a 5% chance from all damage to trigger a free automatic Moonfire. And the next Moonfire you cast deals 300% increased direct damage. So these are all talents that you're able to get to while also maintaining all of the incarn build. So this is a really massive amount of healing, and it synergizes really well with Ursoc's Fury for Fury, which gives you the shielding. The healing and damage are strong during incarn, but where this really shines is going to be on the pulls in between incarn. Bear has historically had very low damage and survivability outside of incarn. These extra Moonfires and the healing from them is going to help you survive, and the damage is going to help you hold threat. Additionally, the thing that I learned today, though, is that this isn't Shadowlands Galactic Guardian, this isn't BFA Galactic Guardians, this is harkening back to Legion Galactic Guardian. So on live, if you have a Golden Guardian a Galactic Guardian proc, and you get another proc before you use it, that proc, the original proc, is lost and it overwrites the current one. But now, like it was in Legion, if you have a Galactic Guardian proc and you get another proc, it spins your first proc doing Galactic Guardian on 2 targets and then gives you another proc. So this means that during Incarn, when you're spamming Thrash and getting a ton of GG procs, it's like just lightning just popping down constantly on all these targets, doing massive amounts of damage. This is for a 3-minute training dummy fight, including your Incarn window, and then your damage breakdown for that on 3 targets. Your Moonfire is doing 51% of your damage. That's because as you're thrashing, you're getting all these additional Galactic Guardian procs, and you're pumping more and more and more damage into your Moonfire, and 30% of that damage is also healing you. So it's just absolutely massive healing, absolutely massive damage, and it's a huge quality of life change because literally you're not pressing Moonfire that entire time. Galactic Guardian goes from being your highest priority, got to spend that proc right away, to you only press Moonfire with it if the buff is about to expire. Instead, you're just fishing, hoping that it resets and procs itself again. That way it casts it by itself. That is an absolutely awesome play style and a lot more fun than I think the current Galactic Guardian play is on live.
Yeah, and I can even confirm just sitting on a target dummy. I mean, we're doing things like pressing swipe, which hasn't happened in a while, you know? You're spamming your Thrash during Incarn, yes, and then outside of Incarn, swipe damage is still proccing Galactic Guardian, your Mangle damage is proccing that, even that Maul button that no one wants to hit, it's all proccing. So, it's just the whole thing is built around Moonfire, which is kind of crazy. So far, with just sitting in front of 4 targets as well on a target dummy, it seems to do the most damage. Although I'm going to try and find a tank here that does more. That's my mission. But so far, it's Druid by about 8k. And if that's their niche, if they're going to be big health pool, pretty decent DR. I mean, they're sitting at 42% base DR, with like 200. I'm sitting at. Let me see here, 378 item level, looking at about a 267k health pool, which is about 70k more than a prop paladin at the same item level. I'm going to compare those two, I think, because those two are the ones that are considered maybe like the gutter specs right now with prop pally and Guardian Druid. And just looking at the two of them combined, Guardian Druid's doing more damage, has a bigger effective health pool, doesn't quite have the mitigation tools that a pally does. You know, the Shield of the Righteous is a big DR. I have Tears, a big DR. You know, Druid doesn't have those tools, so it's less of an active play style. which I mean, I guess if you like Druid, you're probably playing more of a passive DR type play style anyway. So maybe that's your jam.
True. So,
But
okay.
it I mean, it feels good, and when you press the buttons, like it's 3 buttons, sure. But when you press them, you're going to do a lot of damage, and you're going to live.
And it's a lot.
And
It
that
really
feels
is a
good
lot
for
of
a
fun
beginner
watching.
player.
Yeah, it really is a lot of fun watching the Moonfire procs cascade down in big packs. It feels pretty
Yeah.
good. Another thing about the Galactic Guardian being the way that it is, it also helps with your cat weaving. Because on live, if you're cat weaving with Galactic Guardian and you get a Galactic Guardian proc, you have to shift out of cat form to use it, and it's a fairly high priority to use it, so it kind of makes it a little awkward in using it. Whereas here, that Galactic Guardian proc, as long as you're not isn't about to expire, you just leave it running, and either the next one procs it, or when you get back into bear form, you use it if you need to. So that kind of smooths out the cat weaving rotation a little bit.
You're only talking about the good stuff here, right? Because I'm about to slam the Moonkin form that I'm forced to take from talents and all of that.
I think that we're just about done with the Copium. So there, those legitimately leave the spec. So I guess like I said, before we talk about the things that are negatives and maybe jump into that other video of him trying to figure out his tree, I will say that I agree that if you're playing Guardian Druid from the Wowhead talent calculator, and you're trying to figure out a fun, like smooth way to make it through the talent tree, it sucks. It's the worst talent tree out there. But once you're into game and just playing Guardian Druid, it doesn't feel that bad. It feels very similar to how it does on live. It feels like you have more tools than you have on live, with the exception of your 2-piece bonus, which is one legitimate issue that is a problem. But we can get a little bit into now, I guess, the reasons why the people are frustrated with the spec and kind of what some of those downsides are. I have had up on the screen for a little bit the tier sets. We created a tier set video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put the link down in the description below. It'll probably be on screen here if I can figure out how to make YouTube do that. But so the 2-piece Gore has a 5% increased chance to trigger. Gore also increases Mangle damage by 10%. And then Mangle and Thrash deal 5% increased damage. Mangle heals you for 100% of his damage. And then I'll just switch back from that to that, which is your damage breakdown. And you can see why buffs to Mangle, and less so to Thresh, but particularly to Mangle, just aren't super appealing to the Guardian Druid spec right now, as buffs on what is a very small portion of your damage. And it's just not going to feel really impactful for you on that one.
Yeah, and the damage does feel more AoE monster damage, not single target monster damage. Although then again, most of what I've been messing around with so far has been more of the AoE stuff. I do kind of want to get that Maul bill into raid and just see if it's capable of hanging.
It's not right now. Maul's base damage is just so low. The single target build where you're getting into Legacy of the Sleeper and things like that are competitive. It's not going to be the top single target damage tank, but it is going to be competitive. You're not going to lose out on it. Another thing I forgot to mention with things that are good that you're bringing Mark of the Wild. That's, for those who aren't familiar, this is going to be a raid buff. Druids have this tier that's a 3% versatility increase. So that's just everyone in your raid 3% more damage and that 1.5% damage reduction. You will have that in almost every Mythic raid group. It is phenomenal. However, Boomkins and Resto Druids are both looking really strong right now, and even Feral isn't looking too bad. So the chances that you have another Druid in your raid are pretty high, and then that kind of stacking Druids doesn't do anything for you with the buff. But that buff, if you don't have another Druid in your raid or in your party, is a very good reason to bring a Druid.
I can tell you, Boomkins received like the quickest the quickest nerf on the beta behind, well, not behind anybody, but along with Prot Warriors that just keep getting small amounts of their kit torn away as they way overdid it. But anyway, this video is not about that. I will say that as far as the Druid goes as well, Moomkin's way overtuned. We saw in the first week of raid testing they were doing insane damage, that they even blue posted it and said, we're dialing it back a bit.
Yeah.
even before the week of testing was done. So, yeah, if boomkins hit live even the way they are right now, no one in raid is going to be worrying about bringing a guardian druid. They'll just pick up a boomkin.
Right. So we'll close after this with the video of Judd trying to figure out the talent tree, which is pretty entertaining and kind of goes through a lot of why Guardian Druid is such a frustrating spec. But I want to kind of talk first about how I think that without getting into massive reworks, there could be a couple of small changes that Blizzard could make that could really improve the trees. Overall, reduce the number of 2 and 3 point nodes. That is the biggest thing. The biggest offender to me is vulnerable flesh here. There's several of them, but this becomes an almost mandatory talent for you. Maul has an additional 30% chance to critically strike for 2 talent points. And in your single target, you will probably press Maul when you get Tooth and Claw procs, but to spend 2 additional talent points to give it a better chance to critically strike feels really bad when that means that you end up dropping either like Earth Warden or Ursoc's Guidance or Circle of Life and Death. You lose a lot later on in the tree. There's a couple of places like that where spending 2 points really doesn't feel good. There are a few abilities that can't be cast in bear form. Another big one is Innervate. And then,
great for raid.
Great
raid utility.
If you can cast it, you either have to be able to cast it in bear form, or you have to have lulls in the fight where you're not tanking.
Right.
Where Innervate is useful. Raid. Right.
Yeah.
Which you have some
tanking. Yeah, you're off tanking, and you're going to innervate your healers.
Right. And currently the only way to be able to cast Regrowth in bear form is with Dream of Cenarius, which has a chance equal to critical strike to cause your next Regrowth to be instant, free, and castable in all forms. But that competes directly with Ursoc's Fury, and you are never going to pick Dream of Cenarius over Ursoc's Fury unless there's some major rework or something else there.
And that talent is definitely intended to be a heal on yourself. You know, I want more healing instead of shielding, which, I mean, in theory is great, I guess, to be able to choose between those two things. It's just you're almost always going to choose shielding.
Right. And then last thing I'd talk about for ways that they can improve is they need to do something to improve Guardian Snap Threat. Outside of Incarn, Moonfire is going to help. It's going to spread the quality of life stuff. Moonfire helps. It gets that spread a lot faster, which goes a long way. But they could still really use something to help with kind of the snap threat. I think that the tier set is a really good place to work on this. This tier set needs to be changed. I really hope it doesn't go live like this because this is garbage. If I think that they could even change this to something like they could put the old 2 set in there. That'd be great. Probably a little more powerful than they're looking. They could also add something like when you use Bark Skin, it increases the damage of your next Moonfire by 20% and causes it to hit 5 targets. I think something like that is pretty small. It's not going to be a massive damage increase overall, but it's going to give you that instant damage on 5 targets and really help with the snap threat. Then you just have something small with the 4 set that increases either the damage or healing from Moonfire. I think that would go much further way in capitalizing on what they've built with this Moonfire build with a tier set for Season 1 as opposed to... All right, that was our daily dose of Copium. We'll see how things start to play out. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Mythic raid testing starts this week. We get the first boss on Mythic as well as the last couple on Heroic. Yeah. I intend to play some Guardian Druid and raid. Mythic Plus, we've been hoping should be out anytime soon, and that's Mythic Raid and Mythic Plus where we'll really start to get a good idea about the strength of the different specs and how well they're going to play.
Yeah. We can go into a heroic dungeon and pull the whole thing and try and get an idea, or we can do a little bit of math and try and figure it out. But we like to learn by doing, so yeah, it's maybe a little more feely craft than the numbers sometime, but I'm looking forward to the testing for sure.
For now, for my Guardian brethren, there's at least reason to be hopeful. Thanks, and as always, if you comment, like, subscribe, that helps out a ton. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. See y'all in the next one.
All right, so for this part of the demonstration, we thought that the best way to explain why people are frustrated with the class tree and the spec tree is to have someone try to actually fill one out. So Judd has played Guardian Druid before, but hasn't been testing it on the beta, hasn't gotten into it. He's seen the class tree, but hasn't filled one out before and hasn't kind of seen why stuff goes where and what goes where. So he's going to fill this out. I'm going to backseat drive and talk crap the entire time. And see how it goes.
Druid Barkskin. Sure, that sounds good. All healing received. That's a maybe if we need it. Swipe. We want that. I will fill this out. We'll go for Mythic Plus first. Might as well. We're going to do an AoE damage build. Let's see. We need iron for Killer Instinct. Damage and armor. 4 points. What? 3 points. I need 4 points more to move down. So now I get either Rip or Rake before I can move on. Right? There's nothing else I can pick here.
Here's the problem, though. Most of your damage right now is coming from Moonfire.
So... okay.
Yep.
Yeah, right here. Well, I can't get there. I'd have to get rid of... yeah, whatever. We're putting a point in Rip. 6% reduced damage. There's some defensive stuff. Soothe, utility. What do we got here? Charge or... oh, this is... I remember this one. Hibernate, I don't care. I don't care about Moonkin form either, so... ugh. No way. No way you have to do this.
But then you can't get to the range if you go...
ew? Ew? What's this? No. I mean, Stampeding Roar. Not really a Mythic Plus thing necessarily, but it's good. It's not a Mythic Plus thing. Range is good too. But you have to have Moonkin form for that?
Yep.
What the fuck? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm halfway down and I already don't like it. Can you Sunfire during all this? Like this part of your Moonfire?
Can't cast Sunfire in bear form.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't have that in MOP, so... you gain 2% of a stat while in each form. In bear form, you get versatility. Alright, so why is this a 3-point node?
Great question.
What? Okay. Abilities not associated with your specialization are substantially empowered for 45 seconds. But it's a 5-minute cooldown. It gives you 45 seconds of 30% increased magic damage.
It's not that it's a really good point.
It's 5 minutes.
There aren't other good points.
Dude, your next regrowth.
Which you can't cast in bear form.
Alright, this is useless. So you're just not getting these. Like, you're just not.
No, you are. So...
I have 5 points left, and I need to figure out what to do with 5 points, and all of these suck.
Then over here on the right, you get your...
you're gonna go Ursul's, and then... why? Okay.
Because you need...
you could do something like this, too, for mobility and mob control. You're right, this is bad. The fact that this is 3, make this 2, or 1. Make it 2.
Right.
The
other
not
stuff
make...
up in the...
this is... ugh.
Alright, so let's move on to the class tree.
Alright.
Alright, I'm going to stop you there because I already hate it. I hate that we had to spend a talent point on Maul. When for the last 3 expansions, the best thing to do with Maul is to take it off your damn hotbar.
Well, fair enough.
There are situations now in single target where
I have no rebuttal.
Man doesn't feel bad. Sorry.
I have no rebuttal. I think I want Survival Instincts.
Good call.
And I think I want Gore because, hey, that affects your tier set. Let's see. What do we got
The fact
here?
that Ursine Adept, if you go back to that one in the middle, is a talent is ridiculous. Because Guardian Bear, 75% of Guardian Bear does not work if you don't have Ursine Adept. So why it would have to be a talent that you could potentially not take baffles me.
You definitely need this.
100%.
Because, yeah, you just do. Okay, we need Berserk. Now, this isn't actual Berserk, right? This is just a modifier to Berserk? This is the actual Berserk.
So any one of the 3 Berserk nodes will give you Berserk, but it'll only give it to you with the modifiers associated with that. The more modifiers you get, the more things.
So we're going to reflect damage. Mythic Plus. Want that. Okay. Yeah, I've already heard talk about this one. We like Moonfire giving you a 4% DR.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was thinking like a single target initial damage, but okay, well, now we've got more Berserk boosters. Increasing haste. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to do all this. So this is M plus 2 target cleaves, good. Galactic Guardian, Moonfire damage is good. More Berserk stuff. Go Berserk. Reducing cooldown of Frenzy Rejuve by 100%. Yeah, so this is going to buff your Moonfire. So we're talking about this Galactic
And
Bear.
If you look,
2
it's
points.
also the only way you get to end card.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Shit. So Tooth and Claw?
Yeah.
1 point better than 2, right?
Well, there's 2 coming, don't worry.
Maul has an additional 15% chance to critically strike. Maul. 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 Kill me. What's going on over here?
So
This stuff all looks real good. Hold on, what's this?
Right.
Don't care. What's this? Oh, this is that one I need though. Oh.
2 points right there.
Oh my god. I want this.
Yeah, you do.
I don't want this. Maybe for raid, but I don't know. Depends on how it works out. I want this, and then
That one. That's huge, because that your damage over time on your move.
oh my god. My Boomkin or a bear. Yeah, you're right. I don't. And I looked at this before. I mean, I've not looked at this tree, right? Like, I've seen it, but I never really tried to, like, fill it out and squeeze out how many points I need. When you just kind of look through it and, oh, that node looks cool, that node looks cool, that one looks really... Well, you can't have all of it. You can't even have half of it, it doesn't seem like. And then you're... Some of the forcing you down the balance side, I really hope this is wrong.